Hello YouTube, this is Brill and I'm here to share something with you real quick if I could. We have a lot of yelling and screaming about whether or not the president can build that wall. And I just want to show you something if I could real quick. Let me see if this is recording properly, but if not, that's all right too. We're going to go here and I'm going to find something to show you real quick, and it is called, I'm going to keep it a surprise. It's coming right up here. It's called Title 10, United States Code, Section 284, Support for Counter-Drug Activities and Activities to Counter Transnational Organized Crime. Support to other agencies. The Secretary of Defense may provide support for the counter-drug activities or activities to counter transnational organized crime of any other department or agency of the federal government or of any state, local, tribal, or foreign law enforcement agency for any of the purposes set forth in subsection B or C as applicable if, in the case of support described in subsection B, such support is requested, A, by the official who has responsibility for the counter-drug activities or activities to counter transnational organized crime of the department or agency of the federal government, in the case of support for other departments or agencies of the federal government, or B, by the appropriate official of a state, local, or tribal government in the case of support for state, local, or tribal law enforcement agencies, or 2, in the case of support described in subsection C, such support is requested by an appropriate official of a department or agency of the federal government in coordination with the Secretary of State that has counter-drug responsibilities or responsibilities for countering transnational organized crime. Types of support for agencies of the United States. The purposes for which the Secretary may provide support under subsection A for other departments or agencies of the federal government or a state, local, or tribal law enforcement agencies are the following. 1. The maintenance and repair of equipment that has been made available to any department or agency of the federal government or to any state, local, or tribal government by the Department of Defense for the purposes of A, preserving the potential future utility of such equipment for the Department of Defense, and B, upgrading such equipment to ensure compatibility of that equipment with other equipment used by the department. I'm going to skip a little bit here. You can see there's maintenance and repair authorized there, transportation of personnel authorized there, the establishment, including an unspecified minor military construction project, and operation of bases of operations or training facilities for the purpose of facilitating counter-drug activities or activities to counter transnational organized crime of the Department of Defense, or any federal, state, local, or tribal law enforcement agency within or outside the United States. Let's see, there's training, detection, monitoring, and communication of the movement. And then right there, number 7, construction of roads and fences and installation of lighting to block drug smuggling corridors across international boundaries of the United States. Establishment of command, control, communication, and computer networks for improved integration of law enforcement, active military, and National Guard activities. The provision of linguistic intelligence analysis services, blah, 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 blah. It's right there. Number 7. Number 7 in section 2, under B. Section B, support to other agencies. So the Secretary of Defense may provide that support. For example, for a fence, we find here number 7 under B7, construction of roads and fences and installation of lighting to block drug smuggling corridors across international boundaries of the United States. So that would appear that the president already has the ability to build a fence without any support from Congress. So let's look really quick and see if we can find legal definition. So let's try Black's Law Dictionary definition. Fence. It's right here. I'm waiting for it to come up. All right, the law.com dictionary. So I'd say that's pretty official. Noun, fence, noun, a hedge, structure, or partition erected for the purpose of enclosing a piece of land or to divide a piece of land into distinct portions or to separate two contiguous estates. Related legal terms and definitions. Boundary. By boundary is understood in general every separation, natural or artificial, which marks the confines. Partition. But you can see there that fence has a pretty broad definition. It includes a partition erected for the purpose of enclosing a piece of land or to divide a piece of land into distinct portions or to separate two contiguous estates. So a boundary, let's see, or a partition. What is that definition? Let's look up partition first. A deed of partition is one by which lands held in joint tenancy, parsonary, or in common are divided into distinct portions and allotted to the several parties who take them in severalty. In the old deeds of partition, it was merely agreed that one should enjoy a particular part and the other another part in severalty. Well, let's see. That's a partition deed. That's not really what we're looking for. Let's try boundary. Or boundary partition. By boundary is understood in general every separation, natural or artificial, which marks the confines or line of division of two contiguous estates. Trees or hedges may be planted, ditches may be dug, walls or enclosures may be erected to serve as boundaries. But we most usually understand by boundaries stones or pieces of wood inserted in the earth on the confines of the two estates. Boundaries are either natural or artificial. Of the former kind are watercourses, growing trees, beds of rock, and the like. Artificial boundaries are landmarks or signs erected by the hand of man as a pole, stake, pile of stones, etc. Natural boundary. Any formation of product of nature as opposed to structures or erections made by man, which may serve to define and fix one or more of the lines enclosing an estate or piece of property, such as a watercourse, a line of growing trees, a bluff or mountain chain, or the like. Private boundary, an artificial boundary consisting of some monument or landmark set up by the hand of man to mark the beginning or direction of a boundary line of lands. Public boundary, a natural object or landmark used as a boundary of a tract of land as a beginning point or a boundary line. When a boundary, fixed and by mutual consent, has been permitted to stand for 21 years, it cannot afterwards be disturbed. In accordance with this rule, it has been decided that where town lots have been occupied up to a line fence between them for more than 21 years, each party gained an incontrovertible right to the line thus established, and this whether either party knew of the adverse claim or not, whether either party had more or less ground than was originally in the law he owns. Boundaries are frequently marked by partition fences, ditches, hedges, trees. When such a fence is built by one of the owners of the land on his own premises, it belongs to him exclusively. When built by both at joint expense, each is the owner of that part on his own land. But you can see that a boundary can be a wall. Very definitely can be a wall. A fence, by legal definition, a hedge, structure, or partition erected for the purpose of enclosing a piece of land or divide a piece of land into distinct portions or to separate two contiguous estates. To defend or protect by formalities, to fence a court was to open it in due form and interdict all manner of persons from disturbing the proceedings. This was called fencing, defending or protecting the court. By boundary is understood in general every separation, natural or artificial, which marks the confines. De curia claudenda, an obsolete writ to require a defense in his court of land. Partition, a conveyancing. A deed of partition is one by which lands held in joint tenancy. Okay. Okay, well, I can see there that by legal definition, a wall can be facilitated under Title 10 of the United States Code, Section 284, Clause B, Clause A, subsection B, Number 7, construction, roads and fences, and installation of lighting to block drug smuggling corridors across international boundaries of the United States. So this is U.S. Code, Title 10, Armed Forces, Organization and General Military Powers, military support for civilian law enforcement agencies, support for counter-drug activities, and activities to counter transnational organized crime. President Trump has had the authority from the beginning to build this wall. Under Title 10 of the United States Code, Section 284, A7. It's right there. There is no necessity for Nancy Pelosi or anyone else in Congress to allocate those funds. You already have the authority, President Trump. Title 10, United States Code, Section 284. Use it. It's right there for you. No emergency necessary. You don't have to declare a state of emergency in order to incorporate Title 10, United States Code, Section 284. The wall is available.